hearing today about the oversight of the National Park Service. 2016 represents the 100 years since the Park Service was founded. It should be a milestone for the Park Service, but we instead find an agency in crisis. We have a lot of good, hardworking people who do a good service for this nation. They serve. The public is attending the parks at record numbers, but we're still having problems. We should be working to increase the visitation and providing recreational opportunities to the American people. The mission of the National Park Service is to, quote, preserve unimpaired the natural and cultural resources and values of the National Park Service park system for the enjoyment, education, and inspiration of this and future generations, end quote. But that does not work when you have so many multiple cases of serious, long-standing employee misconduct that is distracting the agency from its mission. There is no doubt that when you hire tens of thousands of people to work at the Park Service, there are going to be some bad apples, and those bad apples are going to cause untold disruption and heartache to a lot of people, but if they're not dealt with in a swift manner, if they're not dealt with appropriately, the problem becomes worse. And that is the situation, at least from my vantage point, that I see. During the last few months, the Department of Interior Inspector General has issued numerous reports highlighting how the agency is failing. Those reports reveal the Park Service is failing to protect its employees, in particular from a rash of sexual harassment. Even worse, when the employees suffer the harassment, they're discouraged by management from reporting it and sometimes even retaliated against. Just yesterday, the Inspector General released yet another report of sexual harassment showing a pattern of this behavior in yet another park, the Canaveral National Seashore. Across the country, sexual harassment at the Grand Canyon River District was so bad it took a letter from 13 victims, directly to the Secretary of Interior before any action was taken. Allegedly, this behavior had been going on for about a decade. Unfortunately, it doesn't stop there. The superintendent of the Grand Canyon himself, David Ubaraga, had a history of inappropriate behavior. In 2008, the Inspector General determined that Mr. Ubaraga unethically profited on the sale of land to a park concessionaire who he oversaw. He was also found to have made misleading statements related to the sale. At the time, his supervisor was then Superintendent Jarvis, who decided that a letter of reprimand was enough of a punishment, just a letter. Sold this home for 3 times the value to somebody who was doing business at the Park Service, and a letter was the reprimand. When the facts came to light, once again, Director Jarvis was there to protect his friend, and instead of firing or doing some negative repercussions, he offered him a cushy job in a position in Washington, D.C. The service has also poorly managed its Equal Employment Opportunity Program. For over a decade, the service has failed to meet its EEOC requirements. Claims can take years to process, and the service has consistently failed to maintain a functional EEO program. In the case of the Grand Canyon, it has taken more than 2 years to finalize claims of retaliation from whistleblowers who reported harassment. 2 years. 2 years. We're seeing how a disregard for the EEO process leads to a culture that tolerates sexual harassment and retaliation. Those failures are multiplied by the Park Services, and in particular, Director Jarvis's failure to hold management accountable for these transgressions. The service is also failing to adequately oversee its contracts, and hopefully we'll get into that as well. But perhaps most troubling, the service suffers from failures to maintain ethical standards at the highest levels. Director Jarvis, who is appearing before us today, was removed from overseeing the service's ethics program due to his own ethical failures. Director Jarvis failed to get a book deal approved by the Ethics Office, lied to the Secretary of Interior, and afterwards tried to cover up his tracks. When the person in charge isn't following the rules, we can't expect anybody at the agency as well. Something needs to change, and it needs to change fast. We can't keep continuing to turn a blind eye to misconduct or discourage employees from reporting misconduct. Employee misconduct erodes Americans' faith in their government. It destroys morale for the vast majority of employees who are hardworking, they're dedicated, they abide by the rules, and they should not have to go to work in a hostile environment. And when they don't sense that the management has their back, that they're going to take care of them, they're going to watch after them, and that they will hold the management responsible, it creates a culture that is hostile, and it should not be tolerated. There are ethical problems. There are backlogs of projects. There's lack of plans to deal with these backlogs. Inconsistency in enforcement of laws and rules, And these are just some of the things that plague the Park Service, and that's why we're having the hearing today. I appreciate the witnesses for being here.